Hi, my name is Michael Harding, and this is my Motif podcast. The motif I chose to focus on is birds and whiskey jack. The larger themes of my two quotations are change, war, and waste of life. The first quote starts on page 243 at "One soldier" and ends on page 244 at "Me, I won't let them forget who I am." Right now, the soldiers on break rest at a pond. They crowd around Elijah in awe of his achievements, but Xavier listens from a few meters away. The jealousy in their friendship is growing, and truly comes out when Elijah, trying to prove his skill at sniping, tries to hit a duck 500 yards away. To the soldier's amazement, Elijah misses his shot. Xavier challenges his miss and hits the duck, leaving it dead and wasting its life. The theme of change is evident in this quote because through everything Xavier tries to do, he always wants to conserve animal life for the better of himself and his culture. Since he arrived to fight in the war, it has changed him into a killer and an abomination of what his past self would think of him. The sole reason he shot the duck was to get recognition and not be forgotten by his fellow platoon members, an act to impress the Wemstakashu, which is something that war has changed about Xavier. The theme of war and waste of life comes up in this quote through the waste of Xavier's life and culture, because after all the practices and prayers to each he managed to, he still has killed an animal and a part of himself. My next quote starts on page 257 and ends at the end of page 258. After Xavier returns home from Lisette's, Elijah convinces Breach that Xavier shouldn't be shot from abandonment, and instead should be sent behind the front lines to the medic station for rest. Xavier is told to stay in the cabin and get rest for 3 days, where his only entertainment is a mother bird and her young in their nest. The theme of war and waste of life come in when Breach, Elijah, and the medic come in. Breach quickly moves from asking Xavier if he's ready to come to the front lines again to yelling at him to clean his cabin and get rid of the birds. This shows that war finds every nook and cranny and uselessly kills every living thing. Breach is doing this to show his power, but since these birds gave Xavier Bird his small connection to home, Breach's orders relate to the nuns of the residential schools, where they try to kill the Indian in them. Between these two quotes, you can see the bird side of Xavier. In the first quote, Xavier looks for recognition and respect from his fellow equals, and in the second quote, Xavier is very respectful of the birds and refuses to follow Breach's orders to kill the birds, even though he killed the duck on the pond out of jealousy to prove his worthiness. Moving on to connecting the larger themes of this motif to main ideas, the themes of change, war, and waste of life are all similar in that they express the death in war. As countless soldiers are sent to war, they change, become murderers, and are able to look past the fact that they have just killed someone. Also, as much as the deaths of many soldiers are a waste of life, the ones left alive are left changed and scarred for life, leaving their life almost a waste as well. A quote I made about this states, "War is a toll paid evenly by killer and killed." Moving on to the last part of my podcast, I will talk about a motif in my life. A motif in my life would be my iPod and, more importantly, my music. With my teenage student mind always developing and changing, there's always been one constant in my life, and that's music. If someone were to analyze the music I listen to, its dips into other styles, and its overall change from grade 8, they would be able to relate a lot of the changes to the changes in my life. Something I love about music is that it's one of my favorite art forms because it's the artist trying to communicate a story, and then when every individual listens to it, they change it and hear it differently. This way, listeners like me can really make of it what they want. Even though music has a larger significance in my everyday life, it also has a larger meaning to me. I've always truly wanted to know if I'm left-brained or right-brained, but music provides a stable middle because it has to be in tune, have good meaningful lyrics, and have a good sound that will sell to audiences. But at the same time, it is a worldwide art that may as well be the most popular because of how different every artist is and every song is, just like me. For these reasons, music is the most important motif in my life. Thank you for listening to my podcast, and have a great day.